Hello, everybody. Welcome to IUPUI's 98th Speech Night competition. My name is Josiah Suarez, and I'll be your host for this semester's virtual Speech Night competition. I was a participant in the 97th Speech Night competition that was held last semester, and my speech topic was the failings of the American dream. Now, I work as a mentor in the IUPUI Speakers Lab. As the COVID-19 pandemic and quarantine continue to affect individuals around the world, the team behind this year's speech night wanted to do their best to still be able to provide an enjoyable and interactive speech night competition. Our team recognizes the difficulty of being able to hold an event like this one online, and have done our best to make this virtual speech night as short and sweet as possible, while still incorporating all of the elements of a traditional speech night competition. With that being said, we hope that everyone is staying safe, healthy, and inside their homes. Before we get started, here is a quick word from Dr. Christine Karnick, the Chair of Communication Studies at IUPUI.
This promises tonight to be a stimulating and exciting evening, full of great oratory. And I'm so glad to see so many of you here and out there remotely in the various sites, and so welcome to all of you out there as well. Author and aviator Anne Morrow Lindbergh once wrote, "Good communication is as stimulating as black coffee, and just as hard to sleep after." I'm sure you'll all be very glad at the end of this competition that you spent this very lovely Monday evening, when you could have been doing any one of a number of other wonderful things, but that you spent it here with us. And I expect that maybe the ideas that you hear presented on this stage will make it just a little bit harder to sleep tonight. So a little bit about Speech Night. Hosted by the Department of Communication Studies, this is the longest continuously running event on the IUPUI campus, 48 years. You're about to hear 7 of the best speeches created this spring. And to add to this excitement, you get to participate in the judging. A great deal rides on the decisions that you will make as you listen to these speakers. The winner of tonight's competition takes home not only a beautiful trophy, it's over there, and bragging rights and a nice resume line, but also a cash prize of $1,500. So listen carefully and choose wisely.
We are going to start by reviewing the judging and voting process before we introduce our first speaker. You can locate the digital judging sheet by clicking on the button below the video. This sheet can be used to help you keep track of the scores for the contestants and help you select the winner. On the screen now is the judging sheet. Please follow along as I review how to fill it out. On this form, there's a place for you to score each contestant on a variety of categories, including the proper Monroe motivated sequence format, citations, and speech delivery. We ask that you score fairly and objectively. As this is an unusual way to host a speech contest, we ask that you take into account not only the quality of the videos, but also what the speaker is saying and how evident it is that they have practiced and prepared. After you've watched all 7 speeches, a SurveyMonkey link and QR code will be displayed on the screen. At this time, you will vote by ranking the contestants from 1st to 7th place. Kicking off this year's virtual speech night is Macy Lange. Macy is a freshman nursing major here at IUPUI. She is a student of Professor Dina David, and the title of Macy's speech is The Importance of CPR.
Imagine this. You're sitting at home with a loved one when suddenly they start experiencing extreme chest pain and they soon go into cardiac arrest. You call 911, but the nearest hospital is 30 minutes away. There is no way that the paramedics will get there in time to save your loved one. You have to sit there and watch your loved one die because you do not know CPR. Do you want this to be you? When I was in high school, I had a teacher who had to perform CPR on her father. She walked into her house and found him unresponsive and not breathing on the floor. My teacher started performing CPR while she told her mom to call 911. Luckily, my teacher walked in at the right time and she was able to keep her dad's blood circulating until the paramedics arrived. She was able to save her dad because she knew CPR. If my teacher had not been there, her mom, who did not know CPR, would have had to watch her husband die in front of her. This is just one of the many stories of how learning CPR can save a loved one. I hope I can encourage everyone to get their CPR certification and reduce the number of deaths by cardiac arrest every year. According to the CDC, someone dies of a heart attack in the United States every 40 seconds. This is close to 475,000 people every single year. Last year, I had the opportunity through my CNA class in high school to get my CPR certification. And although I've never had to perform CPR myself, I was shown how important it is, and I want to encourage everyone to get their CPR certification. Learning CPR is important because currently not enough people are trained. If more people get CPR certified and colleges implement programs, we can change the outcome and death rate of cardiac arrest. Currently, not enough Americans are being CPR certified, and therefore, more people are dying from cardiac arrest than they should be. Only 54% of the American population is CPR certified, according to an article and survey done by the New Cleveland Clinic. In this visual, you can see another study done by the American Heart Association. It shows that only 7 in 20 of the 54% of people that know CPR actually perform CPR in times of need. It also shows that only 1 in 20 of those not trained perform CPR. If we add all those numbers up, that's only 21% of the American population will perform CPR on someone in need. Currently, at IUPUI, no professors or even RAs are required to be CPR certified. It is recommended that only one person from each department be certified, but again, there's no requirement. Likewise, there are no requirements for students to be certified. Because of the amount of people that attend IUPUI and live in the dorms, something is bound to happen, and when it does, someone needs to be there and ready to take action. In an article highlighting different stories of young people dying from cardiac arrest, an 18-year-old college student died of an enlarged heart. Her name was Sarah Schatt. She died in her college dorm room. Had her boyfriend, the person who was with her, or even an RA known CPR, Sarah's life could have been saved. You have seen the need for CPR certification. Now, let me show you some solutions. Through more Americans getting trained and more hands-on training, we can increase the percentage of people who do CPR in public and in turn increase the survival rate of cardiac arrest attacks. As mentioned, last year I went through the process of getting CPR certified. Of course, we did all the lessons and then took the test. However, it took me by surprise how short of a time we actually spent in hands-on training. We were split into groups of about 4 and we had 1 dummy to practice on. We each got 3 times to practice on the dummy for about a minute each, and that was it. Although I did learn a lot and I know how to do it, I would still be unsure of myself in an emergency situation because of how little time we spent with hands-on training. People are also getting CPR certified online. This means that they get no hands-on experience, and while they might know the steps for CPR, they are more likely to not perform CPR during an emergency because they just simply haven't practiced it before. For a more local solution, IUPUI should require classes on CPR. It should be required for all staff at IUPUI to be CPR certified. This can be achieved through a 1 to 2 day meeting that includes all the staff. In 2016 at Carleton College, a university in southern Minnesota, faculty made the decision to start providing all students with hands-on training for CPR. All 531 incoming freshmen were trained in the year of 2016, along with all hall directors and RAs. By the year 2019, Carleton College still had a class setup that allowed students to be CPR certified. IUPUI currently offers a first aid class in emergency care that provides CPR certification. However, this class is not mandatory. The only class that is mandatory for all freshmen is the first year seminar class. I propose that IUPUI embeds a day into this class for CPR training and certification. Now that I have shown you some possible solutions, these are some of the benefits of being CPR certified. By increasing the number of people who get CPR certified and the amount of time spent doing hands-on training, we can increase the survival rate of those who go into cardiac arrest. According to an article called 10 Reasons Why You Should Learn CPR, 88% of the 350,000 people who go into cardiac arrest outside of hospitals die. This chart shows the rough numbers and the importance of performing CPR before the arrival of an ambulance. In an article that highlights a young and healthy teen, it shows that anyone can go into cardiac arrest. Luckily, the teen was given CPR, but this story just goes to show that everyone needs to be prepared to help save someone's life because of the uncertainty of when and where cardiac arrest can occur. In another article from Colorado State University, a student named Shane Wilson, who took a CPR course at the college, was able to save his colleague's life. If Shane had not taken this course, he would not have been able to save his friend's life, and his story would have been much different. It is so important for everyone to get CPR certified in order to save thousands of lives, or even just one life. Even if you never have to use your skills, it is always best to be prepared and willing to step up to save someone's life. In this speech, I have shared data stating the lack of CPR certifications that America has. And I have shown you what will happen if more people in this country start getting CPR certified. Starting with the change in the IUPUI community, the community will become more prepared for any situation. Now it is time to take action. To get yourself certified, call the number 1-800-733-2767 or go to theredcross.org. After you go to the website, select your city and find a class near you. Also, go to this website to sign my petition to get IUPUI to embed CPR certification into the first year seminar class. I've shown you multiple examples of how CPR can save lives. However, I have not focused so much on those stories who did not have a good outcome. In the time that it took me to deliver my speech, 11 people have died from cardiac arrest. Those 11 people were someone's parent, child, or spouse. And all of those 11 people's loved ones were wishing that someone could have been there or wishing that they themselves could have helped. Don't let this be you. Get CPR certified and save lives. Thank you.
Next up, we have a speech from Joseph Chheng. Joseph is a sophomore majoring in supply chain management, and his R110 instructor is Charles Reyes. His topic in this speech night is breaking the chains of debt.
Imagine walking down a world, and every step you take, someone puts a brick on top of your shoulders. The very next step, someone puts a brick on top of your other shoulder. The very next step, someone puts a brick on top of the brick. Eventually, you start to feel the weight. Eventually, your shoulders start to hurt, and eventually, you just want to stop because you can no longer take it. That's what debt does. It puts unnecessary weight and stress and drama in your life that you do not have to deal with. The sad part is we can make the decision to either avoid it or we can put the weight on ourselves. What does debt do to us? It hurts us. Not just our future, but even in our present. Every time you sign a student loan or every time you sign some type of credit card loan or car note, what you're saying is, I'll take the stress of this payment. I'll take the stress for the next few years just so I can please myself right now. That is a quote by Anthony O'Neill, author of the best-selling book, Debt-Free Degree. Debt is something that has Americans across the nation trapped in its grip. According to DaveRamsey.com, 80% of Americans are caught up in the chains of debt. 80%. According to Debt.org, that's about 300 million people. When I sent out my class survey, almost every respondent admitted to having debt themselves, including me. Recently, I took a class through Financial Peace University that taught me why we must break the chains of debt. Today, I'm going to explain why personal debt is a problem, things you can do to get out of debt, and how your life will change once you are debt-free. If you don't know already, debt is a problem. You see, debt is like a bully. Now imagine your paycheck is like the money you brought for school for a nice meal. You bring that money with you, but right as the prize sandwich is just in sight, the bully takes away half of your money. Now you're just short of what you needed to buy your sandwich. Debt is the bully in the adult world. When you're in debt and making payments, they will swoop in and take a huge chunk of your paycheck every single month. And trust me, there is nothing more punctual than a bill. Dave Ramsey, the CEO of Financial Peace University, laid it out well when he explained that debt backs you into a corner. It stands between you and your dreams. It drains your hope, it hurts your relationships, and it keeps you from living a full, and generous life. Now, I know a lot of you may not feel the weight of your debt right now, or maybe you feel your debt a little, but you know it won't be that big of a deal and you'll get it paid off eventually. Well, I hate to break it to you, but more than likely, you're wrong. According to CNBC.com, about 40% of people 18 to 37 do not know when they'll be able to pay off their debt. A separate 20% of the same group blatantly say that they will never pay off their debt, meaning they will never be receiving their full income. They will never be able to afford the things they want or sometimes the things they really need, and they will never be able to retire because they won't have the money to do so. To make this a little more relatable to a lot of you, imagine having to turn down your dream job because it doesn't pay enough to cover your student loans. Things like that happen every day because of debt. Dreams are crushed, relationships are hurt, and you are stuck in the chains of debt. Now that you know debt is a problem, let me tell you about a couple of things you can do to get out of debt. The easiest way by far to get out of debt is by never getting into it in the first place. So to everyone that has no debt, keep it up and just use this talk as a warning and as a tool to help keep yourself on top of things. Not everyone that does have debt know that there is a way to get out of it. However, it is not easy and it takes dedication. You have to be different than other people. One of my favorite quotes by Dave Ramsey states, "If you will live like no one else, then later you will live like no one else." There are a lot of steps you can take to get out of debt, but for the sake of time, I'll just tell you 3 of them. The first thing you should do is build what's called an every dollar budget. What you need to do for this is assign every dollar of your income to a category in your budget. The categories can be things such as groceries, student loan payments, and fun money. By assigning every dollar, it allows you to freely have the permission to spend without feeling the guilt of spending. You see, in the words of Ramsey, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. A second thing you need to do is another one of Ramsey's famous quotes. Act your wage. No, I am not just saying age with a lisp. Literally, act your wage. A lot of people get in debt or can't get out of debt because they spend money they don't have on things they don't need to impress people they don't even like. To put it simply, if you're working a low-paying job, you should have a low-paying lifestyle. If you can't afford it, then don't do it. You're not going to die. You're just going to help yourself in the long run. A third thing to do to knock out your debt is use a provenly efficient method called the debt snowball. How it works is you line up all of your debts, smallest to largest, and attack them one by one. It's like when you push a small snowball down a hill. As it begins to roll, it gains more and more momentum and moves more and more quickly until it's huge and finally reaches the bottom of the hill. With the debt snowball, you start by knocking out your smallest debt and continually gaining that momentum until you don't have any hill left and you find yourself debt-free. Now that I've told you some steps you can take to get out of debt, let me tell you about what your world will look like once you're debt-free. You're debt-free. So now what? A lot of really awesome things. The Simple Dollar lays out that you have a lot more money to spend, save, and invest. When you don't have any debt, you can start using all that money that used to go towards payments and actually buy the outfit that you've been eyeing or that car you've really wanted. And you can do it guilt-free because now you have the money. According to Forbes.com, 78% of America lives paycheck to paycheck. Without payments, you don't have to be part of that. Now you can choose the job you've always wanted, or you can choose to work less and give yourself a break. You can do these things without the looming worry of how you'll be able to pay your next student loan bill. I could go on for a long time about all the things you'll be able to do once you're debt-free, but I'll leave that to your own imagination. Today, I explained why personal debt is a problem. I told you a few things you can do to get out of debt, and I gave you a look at what your life will be like once you're debt-free. Now, talking practically, the best way to overcome something is to learn about it. Financial Peace University has a free 14-day trial, so I'm urging you to get on your closest device and sign up for it right now. You can learn a lot more than you think in just 14 days. In fact, you know what? I want you to go a step further than that. I want you to get on your phone right now and download the completely free Every Dollar Budget app and start tracking how much you spend. It might just shock you a little. Debt is a weight that can hold you down if you don't break its chains. In the words of Ramsey, you must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. Thank you.
Next in our lineup of speakers is Jordyn Peterson. While pursuing a BSN/RN degree at IUPUI, a fun fact about Jordyn is that she is also a wife and the mother of 4 girls. Jordyn's R110 instructor is Moffett Craig. The title of her speech is The Pointless Efforts of Recycling.
As a society, we have gotten so selfish and lazy that we are willing to put convenience above sustainability. We are willing to spend the thousands of dollars in plastic products just to save ourselves 10 minutes a day, whether that be using a Ziploc bag in our lunch, tossing that water bottle on the road, or hoarding those lovely Walmart bags. For most of you, the problem is out of sight and out of mind, and you're not forced with seeing the product of the selfish decisions we all make. In a questionnaire I emailed to my R110 audience on March 10th, 2020, their responses indicated that they use plastic products, are aware of the problem, yet have done nothing major about it aside from policing themselves. I have spent years researching ways to eliminate plastic within my family and especially in my children's lives, as well as the problem that plastic proposes on us and our environment. Today, I will persuade you to change your policy to incorporate reusable products into your lives, as well as our state's policy by discussing the problem of plastic, the solution, and the benefits of adopting that solution. There is a huge plastic problem that is affecting us all in very similar ways, and we are the problem, and we must change our policy towards this crisis. When my husband was stationed in Hawaii along with myself and our 4 children, we often visited a beach in Haleiwa, and the reality of my actions set in when I spotted a sea turtle swimming around with a plastic bag in its mouth. I knew right then and there something had to be done. Plastic is affecting us in very harmful ways, as the Plastic Health Coalition tells us. The coalition continues that the additives such as BPA and BPF are toxic and they're not tested, and these give plastic its characteristics, such as its durability, its hardness, its shape, and its color. It also proposes endocrine disruptors, which are very harmful during the developmental stages for humans, and these are fertility cycle disruptors, delayed neural development in children, immune disorders, increased risk of hormone-related cancers, and thyroid and metabolism functions, and many more. It is also found in human feces as well as breast milk from the contaminated food we consume and the plastic microfibers that are present in our air, clothes, and water. The landfills are also becoming a huge issue as they are overflowing. The globalcoalition.org tells us that there are currently 2,000 active landfills in the United States that are reaching capacity, and in Indiana alone there are 29, and we are the problem. The article continues that only 34.6% of disposed plastic actually gets recycled. Some of it's burned, and then most of it ends up in the landfill. The oceans are also seeing a huge impact from our decision to use plastic. And the balanceandb.com tells us that alone there's 8 million metric tons of plastic deposited into the oceans annually. This can kill as many as 1 million sea creatures, yet we wonder why so many are on the extinction watch. We are the problem. Plastic in the ocean breaks down into microplastics, which washes up on the shorelines, and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation predicts by year 2050 there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. You may think the solution is to recycle, and it isn't. TheBalanceandB.com tells us that recycling is costly, as it costs $4,000 per ton of plastic to be recycled, and you and I both know we contribute way more than that. Indianapolis is the 14th largest city, and IndyStarNews.com will tell us that it is becoming one of the most wasteful, as we only contribute 7% to recycling compared to a much larger city such as San Francisco that contributes 80%. There is zero incentive to recycle here in Indianapolis, as there is a costly curb charge for recycling, which can make recycling seem more like a privilege. Indy Star News tells us that the reasons for this costly effect are politicians' reluctance to pay for a robust system and their longtime commitment to burning a huge portion of the city's trash that could otherwise be recycled. This doesn't paint Indianapolis as a city that's concerned with a clean environment. The solution is to not only change a state policy, but a self-policy change as well. And the solution, as said before, isn't recycling. It's to eliminate the option to use plastic, which removes the plastic problem. It is up to us to act, and we are the solution. We need to change our own policy and adopt the use of reusable products, as well as start a movement to change our state's policy, as I will mention how Hawaii successfully has. Yes, it will take time to change our state's policy, but you can change yours immediately. Hawaii issued a plastic bag ban by the County of Honolulu on July 1st, 2015. And recently, the mayor of Honolulu signed Bill 40, which bans the use of single plastic product use, such as utensils, straws, lids, containers, and even styrofoam. Hawaii is seeing a benefit to these bans as the solid waste reduction continues to rise to 70%, and it's continuing to further past that. There are plenty of products out there to help decrease this plastic problem, and some of these that you should consider incorporating into your lives are reusable sandwich and snack bags, reusable water bottles, reusable cloth bags, reusable straws, and even cloth diapers. We need to ask ourselves, how are we going to eliminate this plastic problem? And it's very simple. We need to make plastic a more difficult and convenient option to use. It's going to take effort and time from all of us, but I promise you it can be done because we are the solution. Major department stores need to regulate the types of bags to disperse at checkout. If customers don't have a bag, they are required to purchase a reusable cloth washable bag for a fee. This fee can add up, but it provides a more incentive to remember the reusable bag, thus eliminating the plastic bag problem. The other option is for stores to display reusable products such as reusable sandwich and snack bags and reusable straws, making it more normality to use these. These are very important to our health and environment, and they need to be displayed everywhere. The solution is working in Hawaii. The benefits to adopting these solutions and using these reusable products will not only benefit you in the long run, but it will also benefit the environment and the future generations out there. First of all, they're going to be more cost efficient, and the investment is upfront, but the payoff is worth it. You're going to live a more healthier lifestyle, and so will your children, because you're not going to be exposed to the chemicals, as they will not either, that are in plastic products. And obviously, it's going to be more better for the environment, which you and I both know are very important. We are the solution if we make a mental policy changing ourselves by adopting these changes. The other solution is for our state to follow Hawaii's example and change its policy to ban the use of plastic. It will take time. However, once again, it has worked and is continuing to work in Hawaii. So we can change our policy, and we need to start now. In conclusion, we are all aware of this plastic problem that surrounds us, and we are the ones to blame. However, we are also the solution. I have talked about the problem with plastic, the solution, and the benefits to adopting that solution. Are you ready to take action now against this crisis? I urge you to please visit this change.org petition I have written, which states we want our state to put a ban to the use of plastic. And I urge you to change your policy immediately and reuse opposed to just recycling. Wendell Berry, an American novelist, poet, essayist, environmental activist, and cultural critic, once tweeted, "The earth is all that we have in common. So in knowing that, let's not destroy it, but let's make it one of the best things that we have ever existed with."
Our fourth contestant is Kyleigh Chavez. She is a biomedical engineering major here at IUPUI, and her R110 instructor is Rachel Turner. A fun fact about Kyleigh is that while in quarantine, she has used most of her time doing Calc 2 homework and working on her art. The title of Kyleigh's speech is "The Reality of Child Marriage in the United States."
Is it difficult or even impossible for you to imagine an 11-year-old child forced into marriage? Even if you can, you are likely picturing a distant, barbaric era long before you were born, or a deeply impoverished country that you will never see. As stated by the CBS documentary Speaking Frankly, Child Marriage, between the years 2000 and 2015, over 200,000 children under the age of 18 were married in the U.S., with 86% of these children marrying adults. As children, we desperately need our parents and guardians to love us, care for us, and defend us. However, when many children return home, they only return to their abusers. As an avid viewer of documentary television, I first became alerted to the epidemic of child marriage in the U.S. through a special aired by the BBC. Through further research, I have learned of the dozens of legislative complexities and injustices that accompany this issue. It is evident that the federal government needs to step in and enforce a nationwide law that will only allow marriage between two consenting adults of 18 years or more. Only this can ensure the safety and well-being of thousands of girls across the country who are raped, withheld from schools, and barred from entering the workforce. According to Girls Not Brides, a global coalition committed to ending child marriage, 12 million girls under the age of 18 are married each year globally. However, the United States cannot fight the international war against child marriage without first outlawing this horrifying practice in its own backyard. Each state has widely varying laws restricting child marriage. However, in many states, these laws are grossly absent. According to the organization Child USA, there is no set minimum age for marriage in 23 states, if accompanied by parental or judicial consent. Most often, this requirement does nothing to protect the child. Parents are most often arranging these marriages, knowingly abusing their children in order to fulfill cultural tradition and extremist religious belief. As for judicial consent, many states have no set criteria for which a judge to review in order to approve a child marriage. And according to Freddie Race, forced marriage activist, founder of Unchained at Last, and victim of forced marriage herself, even if the judge is required to interview a child, these kids are too scared to tell the truth because at the end of the day, they are forced to return home to their abusers. Close quote. Child marriage also serves as a disgustingly easy to exploit loophole in the United States judicial system. In some states, for example, statutory rape ceases to be a crime if the two parties are married, even if this marriage occurs after said rape. As stated by rape and child marriage victim Sherry Johnson, instead of putting the handcuffs on him at 20, they put the handcuffs on me at 11. Close quote. In these cases, legal marriage to a child is essentially a license to rape. In addition, current U.S. law allows a minor to immigrate to a foreign country and marry a foreign citizen, trading their life for another's green card. Allowing child marriage to continue only encourages the sexual and psychological exploitation of children. The United States government has the power and responsibility to protect these young Americans. Since 2017, when the issue of child marriage saw a resurgence in the media, many states have individually passed laws further restricting marriage between minors and raising the minimum age. Despite this, little federal legislation exists concerning child marriage. Leaving such an outrageous human rights violation to be eliminated solely by individual state legislature is an egregious oversight by the American government. Due to the long and arduous process of passing a bill into law, many bills either ending child marriage or raising the minimum age have been shot down and resurrected many times in almost every state. A nationwide federal law establishing once and for all the minimum age of marriage at 18 would of course be faced with the same scrutiny. However, once enacted and enforced, would grant protection to young girls across the nation, no matter which state they reside in. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Currently, there is a bill proposed by Representative Bobby L. Rush, clarifying marriage under federal law. The Child Marriage Prevention Act is currently making the arduous journey through the House, but even this bill could not be enough. This bill continues to allow exceptions that pose danger to young girls, such as allowing marriageable age to be ultimately defined by the state and marriage legal between minors with judicial consent. A federal ban on marriage before 18 with no exceptions would prevent these and even worse negative outcomes for the coming generations. An end to early marriage would grant all American children a future not predetermined by their abusers and allow them to fully reach their potential. A United States void of child marriage would boast thousands of more girls growing up to be financially independent and psychologically and physically healthy. Many argue that 16 and 17-year-olds should be allowed to marry in extenuating circumstances, such as for financial reasons or for pregnancy. Research shows us, however, that life even after teenage pregnancy is significantly better without early marriage. According to Gordon B. Dahl of the U.S. National Library of Medicine, studies indicate that early marriage leads to a high divorce rate combined with low wages and a larger family size, increasing the number of children living in poverty and receiving state assistance. Close quote. If America does not soon enact a ban on child marriage, many more girls will be prematurely married, raped, violently abused, and responsible over children they simply are not ready for. After the enactment of this proposed bill, more women would be entering the workforce each year, not just living the independent life that they deserve, but stimulating the U.S. economy and making contributions to society beforehand unknown. The enactment of this bill would help end overall gender inequality and set the United States up as a leader to end child marriage internationally. Even as private citizens, we have the power and duty to support this cause in any way that we can. There are many specific actions we take to stop child marriage, including voicing our concerns to our congressmen and local officials, attending town hall meetings, and raising awareness through social media. By enacting this law, we as a nation can begin ensuring the safety and health of thousands more girls across the country and allow them to take their first steps to an independent future. I hope that this message has inspired you to join the cause and bring an end to this childhood injustice. Thank you.
Our fifth speaker is Kyleigh Hittle, and our R110 instructor is Scott Black. A freshman, Kyleigh is a student of the School of Liberal Arts, majoring in Communication Studies. The topic of Kyleigh's speech is the dangers of human trafficking.
Imagine that you lived in a home that was extremely poor and abusive. You endure this pain for 6 years, then finally you decide to leave, meeting someone who promises you a home, and for the first time, you are told that you're loved. This is Flor Tercio's story, and at the age of 17, she was taken into human trafficking. Flor was held for nearly 2 decades, and in the span of just 3 years, she had 3 children who were all taken from her immediately after birth. Human trafficking is a serious problem, and it may be closer to you than you think. It's occurring more often that people are being taken without a trace of where they went or who might have taken them. I have been told to carry a knife for protection, take my headphones out while I'm walking alone, and do not go outside in the dark. Today, I want to persuade you that human trafficking is a serious problem, and I shall do that by drawing attention to the issue, showing you the need to fix it, outlining a plan that satisfies this need, helping you visualize the benefits of following my plan, and offer you a small action to help me in this solution. We must stop this problem before it's too late. According to the Polaris Project, in 2018, there was a 25% increase in human trafficking cases, mostly happening along the East and West Coasts. This means that the human trafficking victims are increasing in the most populated cities in America. Speaking of most populated cities, the Girls Incorporated of San Diego County states that the average trafficked child is about 15 years old, and as of 2017, San Diego alone is home to over 8,000 trafficking victims. It is often assumed that women and small children are at the cusp of human trafficking, and they are the only victims. But according to the American Psychological Association, they reflect on a report from the United Nations on Drug and Crime that in 2012, 25% of global trafficking victims were in fact adult males. According to the International Labor Organization, global modern slavery or labor trafficking is said to have between 20 million and 40 million enslaved individuals. They also point out how difficult it is to assess the true number of victims, as they often go undetected. According to End Slavery Now, children in human trafficking for commercial sex see up to around 48 customers a day and work 12-hour shifts. Now that I have educated you on some statistics of human trafficking, I will now explain to you the plan that I have created. You can use this acronym and phrase to help you remember my plan. We can make a difference, with a K. I will now go through and explain to you what my acronym means. K, know the signs. It's important to know the signs of a trafficking individual. According to the U.S. Department of State, here are a few things that you can look for. An individual is living with an employer. There are poor living conditions, signs of physical abuse, or the individual is 18 years or older and in prostitution. Looking at these signs, most of us don't know anyone who fits most or all of these characteristics, but it's important to know how to know them and to understand them to help those in need. A, ask for help. If you suspect any kind of human trafficking behavior or you noticed any of the previously mentioned signs, call 911 or the National Human Trafficking Hotline. The number for this is 1-888-373-7888. And finally, N, navigate wisely. Here are a few ways that you can be smart when you're traveling by the Youth Village. Be vigilant, avoid walking alone, move fast when noticing suspicious behavior, and always trust your instincts. Now that I have introduced to you my plan, I will continue to explain to you the benefits of following my plan. By knowing the signs, there is a chance to expose trafficking, and it will also allow you to have the knowledge to perceive any sort of situation correctly. By asking for help, attention will be drawn to the situation, and the victim will have a better likelihood of survival. And by knowing how to navigate wisely, you will give yourself the best chance of safety when traveling in unfavorable situations, like traveling alone or being alone in the dark, those sort of things. Human trafficking is far closer to you than you may think, so if you could, take out your phone and take a picture of this slide and send it to the people that are closest to you. The more people who know what to do, what to look for, and how to understand this, the safer that they will be. Today, I have educated you on how human trafficking is a serious issue, and I did this by drawing your attention to the problem, showing you the need to fix it, giving you a plan that satisfies this need, helping you visualize my plan, and introducing you to an action to help me in this solution. Flora Truccio's story did not end in trafficking. She was gifted to a client for his birthday. They didn't do what they normally do in trafficking situations. They actually talked and they became friends. Without her knowledge, he later involved the police and ultimately saved her life. She was later reunited with her children in Tennessee and married her savior after that. This is a happy ending, though they do not usually happen this way. So I encourage you, if you could, please, again, send this slide to anyone that you're close to, update them, and be safe. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ashlyne Devine, a student of Roxanne Terhune. Ashlyne has been spending her time in quarantine reading, painting, and enjoying the outdoors, as well as spending more time with her pet rabbit, Chester. The title of Ashlyne's speech is Opening a Path to Help Those Who Need It Most.
Imagine you're in a room full of people. 1 out of every 3 of the people around you know someone who's been affected by the opioid crisis, according to a national poll conducted by the American Psychiatric Association. We've seen it in the news, social media, and across the faces of loved ones. All of us either have first or secondhand experience with the ongoing opioid epidemic. Research into the effective mitigation and response practices of other nations supports the central idea I plan to propose to put this crisis into our nation's past. The United States government needs to pass legislation decriminalizing the possession and use of a personal amount of both hard and soft drugs, while keeping manufacturing and distribution of such drugs illegal, so those suffering can seek rehabilitation rather than face imprisonment. It is estimated by a poll from the American Psychiatric Association that 2 million Americans have an opioid abuse problem, and the number of deaths from this epidemic doubled in just 6 years. The same poll also found that 31% of respondents know someone who is or has been addicted to opioids, and nearly half of respondents feel that this crisis is affecting people who are just like themselves. Both of these percentages raised from the previous year, highlighting the growing problem. The same poll also found that 4 out of every 5 Americans believe recovery is possible for those suffering from addiction. Americans similarly favor access to treatment over stricter punishments. 62% of respondents favor access to treatment, while only 26% favor stricter punishments. Another problem we are experiencing as a nation is the lack of housing for many individuals, and the opioid crisis goes hand in hand with this issue. Opioid overdoses are actually one of the leading causes of death for those experiencing homelessness, according to the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council. By making systematic changes to help these people, they could possibly overcome their situation and have success, rather than death. There's clearly an ongoing problem plaguing this nation, but there have been others who are successful in defeating this beast. Individuals should no longer be deterred from seeking treatment in fear of punishment. A great example of this notion is the Czech Republic. The government still prosecutes major drug trafficking and distribution, but instead offers harm reduction programs for those caught using or possessing any drug, according to the Library of Congress's Decriminalization of Narcotics report. The government first decided what constituted a personal use on a case-by-case basis, but now they have set amounts for the various drugs. One is still subject to a fine if the amount is what the government constitutes as larger than small. Another great example can be found in Portugal. An article titled 10 Countries That Ended Their War on Drugs details how Portugal made the decision to decriminalize all drugs, but still offer fines for selling. They instead focus on treating addiction as a disease rather than something that constitutes jail time. By keeping selling a criminal offense, those just caught using are able to seek out help. By taking parts of the implemented strategies I just mentioned, our nation could open up a path to help those who need it most. The United States government would see less deaths and many less families torn apart from this disease. A report under the Global Drug Policy Program details how the Czech Republic's evidence-based approach proved that their reversal from a traditional war on drugs brought about positive social implications. The total amount of drug use and total number of overdoses decreased for the country. There are Americans struggling out there, and we too could see a decrease in our number. An article published in The Guardian details how Portugal similarly saw many positive changes. After decriminalizing all drugs, Portugal saw a drastic decrease in the total number of overdoses, drug-related infection, and drug-related crime. Similarly, by rerouting the stigma around drug use from crime to disease, the country was able to provide much-needed services to more of the affected population. And you heard earlier that Americans see a need for this type of treatment. Some things do deserve punishment, of course, but people need adequate treatment when suffering from a disease like addiction. If someone with an opioid addiction is just thrown into jail when caught using, they could go through deadly withdrawals with no medical care in sight. Similarly, they may rather die than call to seek help, as they know what they are doing could send them to jail. I want to make clear, I am not saying it is okay for your neighbor down the road to own and operate a meth lab like some real-life suburban Breaking Bad. As I mentioned, the Czech government still actively prosecutes major drug trafficking, manufacturing, and distribution. I began by telling you how Americans are affected by this disease and what they think the solution is. We live in a democracy, so the actions of our government need to reflect our views. Here is what you can do to make sure those suffering from addiction get access to proper treatment rather than jail. First, you can financially support organizations that are already providing proper treatment to those suffering from addiction. By going to any one of these websites. Many nonprofits are already actively advocating for and providing support to those suffering from opioid addictions. If you find the government to be too slow of an actor or not the body meant for the job, I urge you to still consider this step. You can also sign this petition by scanning and following the QR code to get legislators behind decriminalization. If fundamental change is going to take place, laws must be passed. Let your elected officials know that you care and you want to change. The United States government needs to follow the model put in place by other nations and stop the ineffective war on drugs and instead pass legislation decriminalizing the possession and use of illicit drugs so those suffering can seek out help rather than fear jail. Remember the room I had you imagine. Think of faces you know and love who could be affected. We have the power to make such harrowing outcomes never come to light, and it is the responsibility of our government to handle the process. Thank you.
Last, but not certainly least, we have Yuvanesh Gobinath. Majoring in mechanical engineering, Yuvanesh is an R110 student of Professor Amanda Hart. During quarantine, Yuvanesh has been practicing and playing guitar for fun, but has also taught himself how to make curry, fried rice, and cupcakes. The title of Yuvanesh's speech is Sleeping Early.
Oh no. I gotta rush to class. I'm late again. I really shouldn't have slept late last night. Well, many of us face this situation. And if this is your daily morning, then this speech is for you. Being college students, sleeping late is inevitable for most of us with all the deadlines, parties and projects to catch up with. But have you realized what you are putting yourself into? Facing the similar situation, I did some extensive research and practiced a simple solution, thus giving me the credibility to talk about sleeping late. Today, I will explain the problem of sleeping late among college students, propose that sleeping early by discipline and routine is the ultimate solution, and explain the beneficial changes sleeping early creates in the lives of students. Let me begin with the issue itself, sleeping late. According to the article, Causes and Consequences of Sleepiness Among College Students from the National Center for Biotechnology Information, about 70% of college students sleep late and end up with insufficient sleep. This might sound insignificant, but it's actually the cause for many complications. First, having the liberty to sleep late, students procrastinate. At least 38% of students in USA binge watch Netflix by routine, says Benjamin Oakes in his article, Is Netflix a Real Threat to the Academic Performance? The issue is that these students spend their entire days and nights doing this besides playing video games, because to them the night is still young and they can always do their work later. Well, these students have poor academic performance as they either can't focus in class or they simply doze off. Besides, weight gain due to unhealthy eating behaviors late at night, and the excessive dependence to energy drinks to stay awake are also related issues. Next, sleeping late also causes many health issues for students as they don't get quality hours of sleep. Waking up on time for classes or other commitments, the sleep hours are very short, with an average of less than 6 hours per night, as stated by sleepadvisor.org in its article Sleeping in College. Hence, they have headaches and they feel fatigued the entire day. Prolonged effects include falling sick frequently, insomnia, sleep paralysis, and also depression from the exhaustion of their minds. Moving on from the problem, now what do we do? Well, we need to sleep early by discipline and routine. This might sound trivial or completely out of the question, but by having a restriction of sleeping at a fixed early time, we will eventually develop a self-discipline to manage our time, routine, and sleep hygiene. You can start small by adding an extra 1 hour to your typical sleeping period. Note that early differs for every individual. For instance, if you need to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, you need to head to bed at least by 11:30 p.m. and not 3 in the morning. Now, to boost the sleeping early practice, you can make use of the sleep diary as suggested by the Health Center of University of Georgia. As you can see over here, a sleep diary lets you evaluate your sleeping patterns, track your sleeping times and durations, and also list all the food intake for the day. These details will certainly help you realize what pushes you to sleeping late and what you should do to overcome. Now that I have given a solution, I will further explain the effective changes in the lives of students who sleep early. Sleeping early directs students towards an organized life, better health, and positive lifestyle. First, time management. By setting an early sleeping time, students will get used to a regular bed and wake time, including the weekends where they usually oversleep. Eventually, they will develop their own life timetable, which will include time for study, social, and recreational activities. Such a student does not need to complete assignments late at night because with the allocated time, deadlines are met earlier and last-minute work is avoided. Second, students should sleep early to stay healthy. According to the article 14 Health Benefits of Sleeping Early from thegoodbody.com, sleeping early emphasizes quality sleeping, which is proven to enhance metabolism, thus preventing students from gaining weight excessively at a young age. Besides, proper sleeping increases their memory power and attention span to perform at their best in school. Since proper sleeping is now a routine, mental and sleep disorders can be avoided, thus striving for a more positive and energized day ahead. Third, a better lifestyle comes from sleeping early. All the unhealthy consumption habits prior to sleeping late can now be eliminated because to sleep early, one must refrain from eating heavily at least 2 hours before heading to bed. Also, excessive naps in the afternoons are now no more needed. In short, these are what you need to do. Set an early sleeping time. Download a sleep diary from Google or a sleep diary app to assist you. Inform others who are uninformed about this simple change to a better life. Therefore, over the last few minutes, I have explained why sleeping late is a problem for students, and how does sleeping early overcome this problem. As quoted by Benjamin Franklin, early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. We as students can achieve positivity in our lives by sleeping early. I have changed. It's your turn now. Thank you.
As our final speaker draws the semester's virtual speech night competition to a close, all of us on the team behind Speech Night would like to thank the wonderful contestants for their participation and effort despite the unique and unusual circumstances. If you'd like to revisit any of the 7 contestants' speeches, click their thumbnail on the screen to jump straight to their speech. Before we get to voting, we would like to have a second to recognize our amazing faculty and student staff that have worked so hard to make this event what it is today. Pulling off an event like this is something that is no easy task, and we couldn't do it without each and every one of these amazing individuals working every single day from home. Now, the moment you have all been waiting for. It is time to vote. Voting for the 98th Biannual Speech Night will be open from April 27th through the 30th and can be reached by scanning this QR code or by typing this link into your browser. This link will allow you 1 vote per person, so use it wisely. The winner and placements will be announced on May 1st, so be sure to check back to thespeakerslab.info in a few days. From everyone here at the IUPUI Speakers Lab, the team behind this semester's amazing speech night, thank you so much for your participation in this amazing event. We couldn't do it without people like you, and we can't wait to announce the winner after voting has closed. Good luck to all the contestants, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you. Thank you very much.